How we doing, everybody? So today, what we are going to go over is I'm going to share with you a simple, effective approach to help you to plan for a cheat meal while still being able to stay on track towards your goals. Because in all reality, like I'm using the word cheat meal here, but I don't look at this as a cheat meal. I look at this as a way of creating sustainability in your fat loss journey, so then that way your life and your lifestyle don't get disrupted by your body transformation goals. That's really what we're here for at the end of the day, because when you're able to master a skill like this, and it does take planning, this is a very simple, very straightforward approach, but when you master this, it is how you're going to be able to not only build the body that you want while maintaining your lifestyle, but more importantly, have strategies that are going to help you to maintain it for years and decades to come, right? But you got to do the work now, because by putting the work in now and by just taking your time to figure it out and master what I'm going to be sharing with you here today, that is what is going to set you up for success. And the more you work at it now, the easier it becomes down the road. So that's really what we're after at the end of the day here, because I'm like you. I mean, if you're anything like me, I should say, then you probably want to have foods that you love. I'm a pizza guy, right? Love it. Grew up in a Irish family that acts Italian. So we love our big ziti, lasagnas, pizza. So I love those foods. So I got to work them in at the end of the day. And I like being able to go to social outings stress-free, right? I'm going to go to Vegas in a month and a half for my birthday. I want to be able to have meals there while looking good at the pool and simultaneously not being thrown off track for my goals, right? My wife loves to do brunch. I want to be able to go to those without stressing about it, without overthinking it, because I want to still get the pancakes, the French toast, the cinnamon roll, whatever is special at that place. All right. So this is a method that I use. And by the end of this, you're going to know exactly what you need to do for yourself and how to go about doing it. So that way you can do it as soon as this weekend. All right. So come on. There we go. All right. First, a few things to consider. Now, and I'm going to be honest about this kind of stuff here. So this is one of many ways you can go about creating this balance of sustainability. I'm not the type of person that's going to sit here and tell you that there's one way to do anything, because that's a fucking lie. There are multiple ways to get to every single end result. At the end of the day, what you need to focus on doing is finding the solution that makes the most sense for you, right? So this, what I'm sharing with you here today, is what makes sense for me. And it could be a right solution for you, but there could be variations of this, iterations, slight adjustments to it that could actually be best for you. The second thing I want you to think about is, like, you can't have a cheat meal every day, right? Like, that's not how you're going to actually achieve your goals. You can't just be eating whatever you want every single day and still be building the body that you want. You have to use this strategy in moderation. Use it for one, max 2 meals a week. But even two can get really, really hard to do this with, especially if you are in a steep deficit, because you've hopefully built some muscle first. So that's something that you really need to keep in mind when it comes to this. Use it in moderation. Second piece is, I would also say, like, I like using this as a reward, right? For me, like, I'm a big person. Like, I need a carrot in front of me and a stick smacking me behind me. That's how I stay motivated. You've probably heard me talk about, like, there's moving towards goals and there's moving away from goals. The moving towards is the carrot, right? What's the thing that you want at the end of the day? In this context, it's probably going to be something sweet for me, but it might be something savory for you. And then the stick of, like, what do I want to avoid? I want to avoid feeling the way that I used to feel when I was skinny fat, when my fat was hanging over my shorts, when I sat down and I felt uncomfortable and like I had to stand up straight or pull my shirt out. That's what I'm trying to get away from. So I like to use this as another reward that I have set up in my overall routine that helps me to stay on track, but also having something to move forward to that I'm like, oh, sweet, look at all my hard work and how it's paying off. And then the last thing is something that I mentioned. It does get easier as you do this, right? Because now I don't put as much intention into this as I'm going to tell you to, because I've been doing it for years. And when you get to the body that you want, and you have been doing a strategy like this for years, you don't have to put as much attention and planning into it, because like most things, you get better at it through practice. Okay. It doesn't mean you get perfect at it, but it does mean that you get better. All right. So let's go through it. Step one, you need to just know what your daily calorie and protein goal are. right? Because you need to establish a baseline. You need to know, where are my numbers at as is, right? And if you are on a fitness journey and if you have been losing some weight, then hopefully you already have this, right? But if you don't have this already, I did another video on how to set your calorie and protein goal. So you can go to my YouTube page and you'll find it. I don't have a lot up yet, or message me directly and I'll just pop you the link. And then one little thing that I want to keep in mind for this too is don't stay married to this calorie number forever, right? Because as we'll get into this, depending on how much you want to actually splurge or spend with your calories on your cheat meal or whatever it may be, then you might need to adjust some of the numbers, right? But also too, the farther you get into your calorie deficit or into your fat loss journey, and like, let's say you've lost 15 pounds, right? You might need to go steeper into a calorie deficit to continue the pace you have been at for fat loss. Hopefully that makes sense. Because when you weigh less, your body requires less. So if you're eating the same that you needed 15, 20, 25 pounds heavier, then that's probably not as big of a deficit anymore, unless you've like crushed the muscle building in that process too, which can offset it for sure. But it's typically, you won't be building enough muscle to truly completely offset it. So you may need to go lower in calories while still keeping your protein the same. Okay. Just a few things to keep in mind. So once you've got your calorie deficit and goals, hopefully you've already got those, then you need to plan the event, right? What's it going to be, right? Again, I already mentioned this. I love pizza. This is me making my homemade pizza. Clearly my dog really wants it too. All right. So do you already have the plan, right? Is it like is it a birthday coming up this weekend? Is it Mother's Day that's coming up soon? Is it just a special event, a wedding? I don't know, right? So if it's already on the calendar, cool. You got it, you're done, and you know when that meal is going to be, all right? So plan for whatever that date is. And if you just want to have fun, like, right, like you're like, I don't have anything coming up this weekend, but I've been working really hard on my fat loss journey and I just want to have a little bit of a splurgy night, cool, but plan for it. Don't just pick it out of whim, right? Plan for it. Because if you do it out of whim, and you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad, right? That's how you can fall into the trap of, oh, I'm fine to do this again, a second night in a row. Or, yeah, I did it for lunch. Fuck it, I'll do it for the whole afternoon, right? No, it's not how we want to do it, okay? So plan it, be intentional about it. And again, when you are further down the line, maybe you can spur the moment, do it. Because there's another way to do it where you do what we're going to do on the front end, you can do it on the back end. It just can be a little bit harder. And like I said, I would rather use it as a reward, which is why I'm breaking this down here. But at the end of the day, sometimes, for whatever reason, my wife is like, I've had a shitty week. Let's go get pizza and beer. And I'm like, sweet, not going to say no to that. But on the back end of it, I do the same plan that we're about to go through. I just do it reactively rather than proactively. But I would encourage you, especially at the beginning, to be as proactive as you can with this, which is step number 3, be proactive. And like the reason why too is because when you're proactive about it, you are setting yourself up for the most success, right? Because you are doing what we're saying right here. You're setting a weekly plan, right? So when I say set a weekly plan, I mean literally plan, what are you going to eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks throughout the week? Now, there are other strategies that I have taught and I will teach that if you just focus on breakfast, lunch, snacks, you can be in a really good spot to have a lot of flexibility for dinner. But if we're going to have a really like when I say spendy, I'm talking about spending calories, because I think that the best analogy you can use for tracking calories, saving calories, just working them in general is with your finances, right? So when I say spending, I'm talking about spending calories. So for this plan, I would highly encourage you to have all 4 of those buckets mapped out. Again, the buckets I'm referring to are breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. Okay. Those are your buckets. Now I want you to ask yourself a few key questions when you are planning this week, right? How many calories do you want to spend? I don't know, right? Do you want to have 3 glasses of wine? Well, that's probably 500 calories as is. So if you want to have the 3 glasses of wine on top of, depending on the wine that you drink, I don't drink wine to be honest with you, so I might be a little off there. But like if you want to have 3 glasses of wine in addition to the The filet mignon would actually hit your goals. The flan, I don't even like these things. I don't know why I'm giving them as an example. But like a cheesecake, I love cheesecake, right? If you want to have 3 or 4 beers and cheesecake, boom, that's something I actually like. I can talk more about that, right? That might be more than 500 calories, right? It might be closer to 1,000. So just kind of have an idea as to what you're going to want to spend it on. Honestly, what me and my wife have done when we're super diligent about our tracking, because we, like, before our wedding, this is how we would do it, right? We would look up where we were going and plan what we wanted in advance. So then we knew exactly how many calories we were going to have to spend there. That is the most intentional you can be about it. Do you need to go that deep into it to be successful with this? No. But is it going to make it far more likely for you to be successful? 100%. All right. That's the nuance of these things. There's always a little bit of a nuance. So that's what I would keep in mind. My recommendation, look, like if you have a date night planned, if you have a social outing plan, look at what you're going to have. If you're going to the wedding, they probably have already given you some sort of, actually, do they? The last one I went to, I did, but I guess not always. So like whatever it's going to be, right? And then if you're not sure, because let's say it is a wedding, right? And it's going to be like kind of a long thing, or it is going to be a lunch that could go into a dinner, then maybe just like play it safe and save yourself up as much calories as possible, like 1,000. Okay. Because once you know what you want to spend, then you can dictate how many extra calories how many calories do you want to spend? How many extra calories do you need? Right. That's what that should say. I don't know why I put the same question in twice. My bad. But yeah, then you can figure out how many calories do you need, which leads you to question 3, and this is how you're going to be able to inform it. How much do you need to increase your deficit on a daily basis? So for the 1,000 calories, right? If you're already in a 500 calorie a day deficit, then you need to go into a 700 a day calorie deficit. That's really, really tough. You can do that just through nutrition. At that point, though, depends on how you respond. All right. It might be smart for you to try to get, an extra 2,000 steps a day to increase, maybe 100, 150 of those calories, because you're like, I can't eat less than this, right? This is already so low where I'm at. So you might need to be intentional about getting some more steps in to increase it. But for some people, getting more steps in makes them more hungry, makes it harder to stay in their deficit. Which one are you, right? Again, whichever one you are, that's how this becomes customized for you as an individual. Because at the end of the day, like I said, it's not a one size fits all approach. There is some nuance to it. So just take that into consideration. Are you the type of person who can do more activity and not get super hungry? Then maybe that's what you're going to do to help increase your deficit. Are you the type of person that gets starving the more activity you do? Then maybe we go ahead and we just focus on reducing our calories, not doing extra activity, just fucking going to bed earlier, maybe just to calm that food noise, doing something to distract yourself. All right. For me, it's typically TV, going to bed. Boom, I'm good. Just again, a few things to think about. But once you have these 3 questions answered, then again, you can go back and you can adjust your breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks to make sure that you're going to be hitting this deficit with getting your protein. Okay. And that's where the most planning comes into play. Right. This is something that I work through with my clients by I literally go over their MyFitnessPal. It's not like it's a perfect app, right? But it works. But I'll go into their MyFitnessPal and I'll give them suggestions. I'll be like, all right, well, you have rice here. I would recommend potatoes there instead for the same amount of grams, because it'll be less calories and it'll be more filling. So let's switch that up this week. Well, I see that you got a 90-10 ground beef there, but if you go to Trader Joe's, do you have one near you? Yeah. Okay. Go to Trader Joe's. You can get a 96-4. So you're going to save some more calories, right? I see you're doing chicken thighs. Go ahead and get the chicken breast, right? I see that you're having this. So you see where I'm going with it, right? There are little tiny ways that you can kind of still have relatively the same amount of food while cutting calories. And that's kind of one of the things that you may need to do here. Or you may just need to just reduce the amount of portions that you're having, and then maybe add in like a protein shake, because that's a really high protein, really low calories. Add in an extra one of those during your day, because that's going to help supplement how much protein you need to hit your goal, because you've already reduced your other meals to meet the calorie goal, right? I know I'm giving a lot here, so that might seem nuanced. These are the type of things, like if you guys got follow-up questions on it, on how to make it specific to you, reach out to me, ask me. I'm super happy to help anybody that has something like this. but I just want to give you guys options and ways to think about it to help set you up for success in this regard. So once you've got your plan, obviously you need to, like, I guess the last piece to this is once you set your plan, follow through on it. Don't deviate from the plan. Don't switch it up just because you feel like it. Because if you actually want to use this as a reward, fuck your feelings. Dead ass serious. Don't give yourself the excuse that I'm having a bad day, right? Don't give yourself the excuse that I've worked hard, I earned it. No, you've worked hard when you've completed the task. And for this context, completing the task is getting to that cheat meal while being on top of it all week. Okay. Then day of, once you get there, now it depends, right? Sometimes if you've really done it correctly, then you're having the same breakfast, lunch, snacks, and then just going into dinner with whatever it may be, right? And just enjoying yourself from there, not thinking about it. Sometimes if this event is earlier in the day, I'm going to use a quick example of what I do for brunch. But if it's earlier in the day, like a brunch, I've already said my wife loves brunch, right? So we might spend extra calories there. And so I'll use what we did this past weekend. We went someplace for brunch. We knew we'd been to this place multiple times. We'd never gotten their macadamia nut banana pancakes. And I was like, I want them today. She said, all right, cool. So the way that we plan to have that is, we reduced our calories a little bit before, and we had to do a little bit after because this was a decision we made on Saturday. But the day of, we went there at about noon. So before it, I cut out most of the carbs that I would normally have. Like you guys have probably seen me post about my breakfast burritos, or lately I've been having just shredded potatoes with that. I took the shredded potatoes out, right? I had less carbs pre-run, which did make the run a little bit harder. I will be honest with you in that regard, because that is a byproduct of this. It can make your workouts more difficult, but that's a nutrition timing conversation, which is a conversation for a different time. But I reduced how many carbs I had in that morning leading up to it, focused on protein, focused on some veg and some fruit to help keep me full and push me through. It's also what I use pre-workout. And then post this dinner, post this brunch, I also kept it really, really lean, right? I wanted to stick with my same dinner because it's super high fiber, even though it is higher carbs with the sweet potatoes and the black beans. But to make sure I hit my protein goal, I made a creamy that night. If you don't know what a creamy it is, it's basically something that you can use to make a high protein ice cream by using whey protein, Fairlife milk, and whatever other fun ingredients you want to put in there. So that's what I did, right? So I knew that I was going to be getting in my protein, and I had a plan for the day, right? There have been times where we've done a dinner at night, and I haven't changed anything leading up to it. All the same stuff, nothing different, because I've planned for it, right? That day, because it was a little last minute, and it was in the middle of the day, I had to make sure I had a plan for getting in my protein after and a plan for it before to make sure that I overall hit my protein goal and reduce my calories enough around that, so that way I didn't have to massively reduce them the next couple of days thereafter, right? I still had to a little bit, but not as much, right? So that's an example of how you handle the day of, right? And there's options depending on when the day it's going to be, but you still need a plan on that day, okay? And then the last thing is when you're actually there, enjoy your meal. Just enjoy it. Have fun. Don't think about it. Don't think about the calories. Enjoy the conversation with the person in front of you. Enjoy the food. Laugh, cry, whatever you're going to do. Have fun, okay? Now, the day after. Now, like I mentioned, for me, where I'm at right now, I sometimes will reduce the calories the day after. But I only do it by an intentional small, another 100, 200 amount. I used to make the mistake to when I would binge eat, because I have a history when I was early on and trying to get past skinny fat to get and see my abs. I had a tendency to just slash my calories aggressively and then binge eat. And then after that, I would hate on myself so hard, and I would increase my cardio drastically. Like I would do an extra 15 to 20 minutes a day, whatever it was. And I would try to just eat nothing just to punish myself, basically. That is not the way you create a sustainable approach to this, right? The way you create a sustainable approach to this is by small moves, small incremental changes to what you're doing. So that's what I want you to focus on. And that's why we're planning for this ahead of time with small changes, okay? Because small changes keep us in the game. They keep our momentum going. These big swings back and forth, they knock us off course. You know, they fuck with our head. They fuck with our mental space. They're harder to stay consistent with, right? So you don't need to do extra calories after with this, or extra cardio. You don't need to cut calories after, right? You need to get back onto the plan that you normally would have. Don't change anything to it. Whatever, like let's say it's a Thursday night dinner. Friday should be the same that you normally have for your breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. Okay. So get back on plan immediately. Get back on the same workout plan. Get back on the same nutrition plan. All right. That's what you want to focus on when doing it like this. Again, if you do it a little bit after, the way that I talked about for myself, I know that can get a little bit confusing, but for the context of this, just get right back on plan right after. Okay. Now, here's the caveat to this. When you do it right, well, let me go back actually, because I don't think that I wrote this does. When you do this right and consistently, you will still see progress. If you're doing this every week, maybe more than once a week, and you're not seeing progress, then you're not doing it right. Why do I think that it probably is? It's because you're not planning well enough. Okay. So that's the key. You still got to make intention for this. This isn't like a get out of jail free card, right? So you have to do it right. You have to be on top of it. You have to plan intentionally. You have to follow through, and you have to use this as a tool to create sustainability, not just an excuse to say, fuck it. Okay. There's a big difference there. So that's what I want you to keep in mind. And again, like I was saying, if you see no progress, you need to that's a typo there too. You need to reassess your approach. You need to be honest with yourself. Am I actually following through on this or not? Right? And then if you are making progress and it works, great. You found a solution to create sustainability while still having meals that you enjoy. All right. So it takes work, it takes intention, and it takes planning, but it is possible, right? Like I did that in this transformation too. This was a little bit of a shorter one, not as drastic of one. It was getting ready for a trip. You can see one of them was early morning. Hair still wasn't done. But at the end of the day, my point that I want to share with you is that use this as a tool, use this as a strategy. Don't make it the end all be all. All right. And that's what will set you up for success. Now, if you are curious about learning more about what it's like to work with me one-on-one, then I'm offering you a totally free strategy session, right? Where I will give you a guarantee in that too of if we hit your goal within the first 60 days of working together. Well, if we don't hit your goal that we agree upon the first 60 days of working together, then I'll refund you all your money and I will work with you until you do achieve your goal, whether it takes another 6 months or whatever, right? That is my guarantee to you. And the conversation, just because you set up a conversation, you have a one-on-one, a strategy session with me, doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be one of my clients, because not everybody is a good fit for it. Most people actually aren't, because I need a specific kind of person that I can work with, because I have I don't know if I hate to say it or I love to say it, I have the luxury of being picky. All right. I have a good amount of clients right now. I'm only bringing on the right people that I want to work with that are actually committed. Okay. So that's part of what I'm going to be seeing. But at the end of the day, you're going to learn a lot about what you need to do to go out and be successful and what you need to focus on for your specific situation to actually do it. So there'll be a link to book a one-on-one with me if you're curious about it in the comments. So go ahead and click that or send me a message and I will be there for you. And if there are any questions, let me know. But as it stands, hope you have a great rest of your day.